to 10 at 10. This is episode number 95 of 10 at 10, and we are welcome to have you. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Grow West, the Technology Council of West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and our local partner, Sprocket Innovation in Paducah, and the Kentucky Innovation Station in Madisonville. A few weeks ago, we talked about all of the Internet of Things, the IoT devices that you have connected at your house. And after that show, and after that aired, I had a number of questions coming to me and saying, all right, you talked about securing your home network. Can you talk about that a little bit more? I don't understand some of the pieces that you're talking about. How can we better understand the things that I need to do to keep my home safe? So I wanted to revisit that topic today and dive a little bit deeper into tips to secure your home network. When we talk about your home network, we're talking about all of those devices that are connected at your home. But before we get there, let's talk a little bit about what it is that when I say that, what we're looking at. So typically, most home users have two separate devices, or two devices, two functions, maybe a better term. You have a cable modem. Maybe it's a fiber modem, maybe it's a DSL modem, but there's some sort of modem that internet signal comes into first, and then it connects to your router. There are some broadband providers that actually that device is combined into one. You may have a modem and a wireless router that are combined into one device. One of those, two things are probably true. If you have a device from the manufacturer or from the provider, you definitely have a modem. If you have wireless at your house and you don't have a router, then that modem probably has the wireless built in. So what happens is that first that signal comes into that modem. If you plug that signal straight into your computer probably wouldn't understand it because it's using different protocols outside of your house. It comes into your modem and converts it to something that you can understand. Now, that yellow cable that you see on here, if you plug that straight into your computer, you'd probably understand it. But that computer would be the only device on your network connected to the internet. Everything else would not be able to get to the internet. People use wireless routers now because that allows all their devices, their TV, their computers, their tablets, their smart devices, everything to be able to connect into the network and get to the internet. So that's a little bit of how it works. Now, back in the days when we had just computers and we knew where those desktop computers were going to be, it was pretty easy that if we wanted to put that modem next to that computer, then that's fine. But now there are so many devices that we're talking about on our network that it makes it a little more challenging. And I saw this graphic online that kind of represents what we're talking about. Now we have our computers that are connected to the internet, but we also have smart devices. Maybe it is your thermostat, maybe it's your refrigerator, maybe it's your garage door, maybe it's your water meter. There's a number of different things there. Then there's the entertainment level where we have our computers, we have our printers, we have our cameras, we have our TV, our Blu-ray players, our gaming devices. All of those things are connected to the internet. And then at even another layer further down, maybe you have a scale or a blood pressure monitor that automatically connects to the internet and shares your information. The point of all this is that, as we talked about a few weeks ago, we have so much of our lives that are now connected to the internet that we have to take steps, we have to take measures to make sure that we are protecting our networks because of the amount of information that that are on our home networks. If I asked you to count, and I always do this when I talk about this, count how many devices do you have at your house that are connected to the internet. If you really go through and list, you probably have more than a dozen, maybe more than 2 dozen, maybe more than 3 dozen devices at your house that are now connected to the internet. And you need to take steps to keep that safe. Now, let's talk about some basic steps we can use. First, I just said that for many people, they have a router that is supplied by the ISP, by the internet service provider, the broadband provider. Um, if you're using the modem and wireless together, then you definitely are. I actually have my own modem and I have my own router. I do that for a couple of reasons. First of all, I can control more of the security features on my router because I am able to manage it myself. So I can go in and change the password. I can go in and change the configuration. I know what is being shared back to the provider. Nothing now. I did not know what was being shared back before. So, from a privacy standpoint, it's really important that you avoid using the ISP supplied router. It may cost you more money up front, but then I don't have to pay the modem or the router rental fee. So that part helps. Change the default password. For a long, long time, if you bought a Linksys router, the default username was blank and the default password was admin. Um, Everybody in the world knew that, good guys and bad guys. They moved away from that just a little bit in today's world, but I highly recommend that you change the default name and password. Now, actually, let me say from an admin standpoint, change the name and password, but also from a broadcast standpoint, if you see the name on the wireless name on your broadcasting on your network, at the very least, change the name so it's not the default. It's not the default name. Add a password to that network name, so it's not just the login that when you're trying to administer it, but it's also the SSID, which is the identifier that you see when you list the wireless networks available, but also the password there. Turn off external access. Nobody outside of your network needs access to your home network. Now, there's some exceptions that might happen to that. If you have something that's on your home network that's being shared externally, then you may need to turn on access just for that aspect, but then use a VPN to connect in a virtual private network so that it's secure. Turn off name broadcasting, especially if you live in an area where there's a lot of folks. Turn off name broadcasting so that nobody finds your network. Well, they can still find your network, but that you're making it harder for them to do so. Update your firmware. We talked about this over the last few weeks. Uh, Make sure you're updating the software that is running your router. If you have your own modem, that's running your modem. Those things are important for you to make sure that you update. Use a guest network. If all of those devices I just talked about are connected to your main network, then also use a guest network so that you can allow people that are coming in that don't need to be on the same network as all those other things to be able um, to connect, but to do it in a way that it segments those out. When you're changing your passwords on your router, just like everything else, choose a complex password. You want to make sure that people cannot easily guess that. Um, there's a there's a setting called WPS that's most routers come with nowadays. It was intended so that you can have a button on the front that you could just push and it configure and all the security on wireless devices. It turns out that actually creates some vulnerabilities on your network. So disable that feature on your router if you're able. And then finally, as you're setting up that wireless, you want to enable wireless encryption. as much network encryption as you can set up you want to. Right now, WPA2 is typically the most current standard out there, but um, you more secure the better. The better encryption, the safer your information is going to be. Some of the low level encryptions, like WEP, for example, has been compromised in pretty quick order. So if you're using WEP to encrypt your data, then somebody who's capturing that traffic going across your wireless network can probably decrypt it pretty easily. Uh, these are 8 things that you can do to make your network safer. And what I highly recommend is that you do these things to make your home network safer. The home network is a large vulnerability for you, both as a company and as an individual, and to protect your family. That home network is a place where you think you're safe because you're at home. But the reality is, unless you take some steps, your home network is probably not as secure as you think that it is and perhaps that it should be. So I encourage you to take those steps. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Thank you for joining us today, and I'll see you right back here next week on 10 at 10. Thank you. Bye.